incredibly moving, having had many pets over the years and waste away and die and everything else. Rescue a few. I know I feel an incredible connection. Dogs and cats, lots of other animals. So, the unique aspect of Shawna's work is that she has long recognized the human-animal connection, the human-canine connection, and is taking extraordinary steps to explore how that can be of value both to those animals, those dogs that need to be rescued and healed and brought back into the human family, which they've been part of for years. And the other side of that is how animals help us and help us to heal and feel more whole and connected with a world outside humans, that there are other creatures aware of us and can relate to us. So without any further ado.
Okay. So if you don't know me, again, my name is Shawna, and people who know me really well would probably agree when I say that I hate tangents. I get really frustrated once we figured out where we're going and people have to take a really goofy route. And I'm realizing that I think one reason why I hate tangents is because it's new information that then I have to work with. And it's often good, and I'm accepting that. But in the place that I am today, I can't fit anything else in my brain. So I'm going to do a lot of reading of my presentation today, because if I let myself talk and go into a tangent, I'm really scared of what I'm going to do with that information. Can't handle anymore. So I appreciate your patience if I kind of get married to my writing here. But my background is in mental health counseling and in education. And I got into sustainability because I was thinking about the psychology of non-human animals. And I came to Prescott because I started thinking about our relationships between humans and non-human animals. And I'm a psychologist, and field research in psychology suggests that the human brain is actually really stubborn, short-sighted, and emotional. And most of us in the sustainability field know that to be true. So how do we reach people? How do we inspire people? How do we encourage them? How do we change behavior to come into sustainability, to understand the importance of it and the value, and to change our behaviors in ways that we become more sustainable as a society? And even worse, once we figure out that we need to do that and people come together for sustainability, where do we start? So we don't all have the pop icon status that Michael Jackson does. We can't sing about this and get the whole world to change with us and heal. So that's why I'm starting here at Prescott, with something attainable, with something that really matters to me. My starting point is an emergence of my two passions, our brains and our environment, and the communion of the two. So broadly, my dissertation is about how to help myself and how to help my clients start with something in sustainability where their passion meets a need. Specifically, the need that stands out to me is in our interaction with the species that is most enmeshed with humans. As Rick was saying, my passion and where I'm starting in sustainability is with dogs. So that's my dissertation topic, simplified to one word, the dog. So I'm curious to hear some things from you. What first comes to mind when you hear dogs or think about a dog? You can just blurt it out. So it sounds like what comes up is a lot of good memories, maybe good childhood memories, good childhood friends, maybe sad memories, maybe fear, maybe the Sarah McLachlan commercials of Sarah singing to a battered puppy and asking for money. And maybe those commercials strike a nerve for you. And maybe dogs, while they might make you grin or bring you back to the good old days, don't hold a place in sustainability in your mind. But here's my point. In the two reactions that I get when I talk dogs, I get, your dissertation is on dogs? And I get, and often from the same person after a couple moments, your dissertation is on dogs? I have to tell you this story. And then I get this flood of stories about everybody's best friend. And for the record, I love these conversations, so don't feel self-conscious about telling me these stories when we're done. But that is my point, is that these reactions have the same root. Strong reactions all come from the same place, emotion. Now, we don't understand emotion. We can't quantify it and measure it, so we tend to academically avoid it. But as sustainability agents for change, we absolutely need it. We react to emotions and emotional topics strongly throughout different parts of our brain. So we need these emotions. This is what is making us tick. It's what helps us connect to each other. It's what helps us think more deeply and critically. And ultimately, it's how we learn. As we know, from learning in meaningful ways comes the change that we need to make. So as a professional about emotions and thinking about these things, or as an emotional professional, as some might call me, I am constantly trying to observe the inner world of our emotions with the outer expression of our behavior. And I recognize how enmeshed we all are emotionally, but not just with each other, with other animals as well. So my dissertation is on our emotional connection to dogs, because I see a potential to apply the human-dog relationship for the well-being of both dogs and people, and to contribute to greater sustainability efforts by building compassion, responsibility, and critical thinking skills about the world around us. So this is my beautiful mom with one of her dogs about 55 years ago, so maybe it runs in the family. But it goes to show that dogs are called man's best friend for a reason. How many of us have pictures from our childhood or pictures from our families with pets in them? Most of the pictures have a pet, dog, the farm animals, whatever. They're enmeshed with us. After 40,000 years of domestication, they are the most domesticated animal in the world. And they have been evolving with humans over time. At this point, even feral dog colonies are accustomed to human influence. And they are experts on reading human behavior. Dogs actually read humans better than humans read dogs. So they are genetically predisposed to desire a relationship with humans, and they are evolutionarily reliant on us at this point. And those who don't behave well around humans, well, that's our fault, because dogs are also among commonly abused, neglected, mistreated, and misunderstood. And that's despite our deep enmeshment with each other. So while dogs serve as our bridge to the rest of nature, they also represent the standard treatment that we bestow on the rest of nature. So if human compassion and ethics do not encompass man's best friend, we are even further from fixing problems in nature beyond. As Einstein knew, if we can create meaningful connections for people with nature, if we can educate them and expand their compassion and understanding, we influence greater sustainability by opening doors for people to reconnect with nature and find value that is meaningful to them emotionally in sustainability. Working with dogs is a tangible, available avenue to help people develop an emotional connection with nature. And there are huge problems concerning dogs to solve. Globally, there are population and disease issues, and these lead to abuse and neglect, which exacerbate the other problems, while cultural trends increase further mistreatment through unethical commercial breeding to produce popular dogs, leaving unpopular breeds and leftover dogs to suffer further neglect. We created these problems over the years, and now we see our only truly domesticated companions suffering the consequences, along with the rest of nature. These problems affect humans in many ways, and ignoring them or solving them unethically will just continue a cycle of human ignorance, animal suffering, and will ultimately contribute to further sustainability issues. There are rescue organizations around the world working on the protection of animals, and it is with them that I begin my work and my research. But I do want to move beyond a basic individualistic model of animal rescue work, and I want to move beyond education and advocacy objectives. I want to go beyond compassion, back to empathy, to what makes us better, healthier beings as part of a healthier whole system. My thesis is that healthy human-animal relationships are catalysts for individual well-being, community enrichment, and overall sustainability. Specifically, I am researching the potential for rehabilitating rescued dogs as a therapeutic service learning model. This means that by design, the service work actually serves everyone involved, and that the benefits expand beyond the individual dogs being served into the community. I envision a program where dogs who have been rescued and need to heal physically or mentally are given the time and resources to adapt to a new life and become adoptable as the companions to humans that we have basically designed them to be. This program would utilize volunteerism from people who are interested in their own healing or education or well-being or social connection to the community or building skills. And volunteers could come independently or through an educational, mental health, or rehabilitative program. Now we know dogs would benefit from this, but what I want to show is how humans can benefit mentally, emotionally, and physically when they do service with an animal. We know that the human-animal bond is rewarding for both species. We know this from other contributing fields that have already figured this out, such as animal-assisted therapy. So assuming we can build more evidence for the concept of mutual healing, consider the broader effects. What I've learned from the literature reviews I've done is that communities with strong animal welfare are stronger, and communities with service learning objectives and programs are also stronger. We also know that altruism is a huge benefit for the human brain and spirit. And people who develop healthy relationships with animals become more compassionate toward animals and people. People feel a stronger sense of responsibility for helping others and feel a stronger sense of self-responsibility. So basically, someone who has to take care of an animal will tend to take better care of themselves and those around them. So I think we're onto something big. I think we're onto a tool to enhance counseling, teaching, and sustainability education. This is about bringing efforts together to connect people and nature, to develop compassion and skills, and to build a holistically healthy community through something that is already in great need and is a great opportunity for people to take part in. There are some emerging programs at animal rescues and animal sanctuaries already tapping into this potential resource. So before I can dig into it myself, I need to do the groundwork. I need to find whether and where and how these ideas are already in place. I'm trying to understand the field of animal rescue and sanctuary work as it stands today, and how the human-animal bond plays a role in their work, so I can build from where we are toward this more holistic approach. So my focus is on organizations who explicitly or even implicitly maintain a component of mutual healing, cross-species collaboration or cooperation, or sustainability education in their work. My primary question is whether they already have in place a program or objective that utilizes the human-animal bond for benefits beyond animal welfare. If not, what do they think of the concept? Is this something that they see potential in, or that they think they could add to what they already do? Basically, I need to know where I can avoid reinventing the wheel, as some of us said yesterday, where I need to blaze a new trail, and whether there are mentors out there for me that can help me with this. The methodologies that I've drawn from to frame this research include phenomenology, ethnography, case study, action research, and grounded theory. I want to study the experiences and practices among those organizations who are already well-functioning, sustainable, and valuable to their community. So though my work will be primarily with dogs, I'm expanding my research at this phase for a broader foundational understanding, and also to make it more valuable to other organizations who are interested in the human-animal bond in whatever work they do and whatever culture they are already in. I want to involve these people in a new conversation about the human-animal relationship and how we can move forward in holistic well-being, mutual healing, and sustainability as a field. My goal is to gather information from people all over the world, working with different animals and in different cultures. My primary methods of research I plan to utilize are first a Delphi model survey, followed by interviews and site visits with the people who responded to this survey in a way that I felt was most resonant with my goals. I'll be surveying the experts from these various organizations around the world. And so these experts in this case are those who have done this work already, have done this work over time, and they've proven their approach to be effective. They know how to work with animals, and they have a good relationship with the people in their community. So executive directors from about 50 organizations will be invited to participate in this. Some I already know from the work I've done so far. So it will be looking at a familiar program through a different lens. And others I don't know yet, but I've heard about through referrals and outside research and from my mentor. The survey is about 20 questions and should take less than an hour to complete. And the questions are about what they are experiencing, the challenges, the successes, how they see their role in sustainability, if they do at all, in animal welfare, and in connecting humans and nature. I anticipate learning about some current models of service, education, and therapeutic practice. I also anticipate that there is not a lot of common language or structure that is used throughout the field. And I assume at this point that European care farming is the closest model to my ideas, but care farming ideas have not yet become popular in the United States. So I'll be pulling information from other parts of the world, synthesizing it with what I see in the United States, and then contributing what I believe is still missing. Overall, I anticipate hearing a lot that the work is overwhelming and that it is hard to consider a new programming idea like this at this point, because it may seem to pull attention away from their already strained focus on animals. I'm working with Dr. Gay Bradshaw on this research, and she's an expert in animal sanctuary and trans-species psychology, and she has taught me about the issues in the field, including the burnout that happens and that comes from doing something that hasn't won them much support. Often animal sanctuaries and rescues deal with battles with the government, with law enforcement, with the general public, because of the lack of understanding for the work that they do, and for the importance of these relationships, and the value of these individual animals' lives. So while the difficulty and lack of support of this work encourages my reasoning to develop a program that is more holistic and inclusive of people and communities, it's also a barrier. So beyond my own work and envisioning, I hope to find some ways through these common challenges so that communities can see animal rescues and sanctuaries as more than a place that works just with animals, so that sanctuaries can see themselves as a holistic and major component of the community that they are in. From the survey results, I hope to identify organizations with the goals and practices that resonate most with my idea of mutual healing. And then I will go for further interviews and site visits to paint a full picture of the service work, of the human-animal relationship, and the potential for greater influence and sustainability among these organizations. My overall goal is to develop a model for holistic healing, for mutual benefits, for community enrichment, tailored to what I want for my own nonprofit, but available to others. I anticipate traveling domestically and internationally this year for the site visits and interviews, and to network with these other organizations, and to develop more trust and community among us as an international group. And also, I'm developing my nonprofit now, where I will pilot and develop these ideas, and my nonprofit is called the Priya Project. Now, the name Priya means blessed and unique. And I named a street dog I met in India Priya, and she was one of the forgotten dogs in the world that we work with. And she proved to everyone she met that you don't need to buy a designer dog to help find a great companion, and that there's beauty and joy in helping someone who needs you. So we'll take in these forgotten dogs from commercial breeding facilities, puppy mills, in other words, stray dogs from rural areas, and street dogs from other countries. And these dogs all have ingrained tendencies to rely on people, but they, at this point, have not had positive interactions with people yet. So we'll work with our volunteers to rehabilitate them. This is one group of volunteers that I've been working with from the college, and they're doing the tech stuff and social media that I cannot do. This is our bicycle therapy, one of the many things we do to help dogs kind of learn how to live in a family and be a pet. So from here, I hope to keep expanding the Priya Project and grow awareness for this topic through practicing, teaching, and writing. And my two mentors, Aubrey Fine and Dr. Susan Larson-Kidd, are helping me to do those three things. Dr. Aubrey Fine has been working with me on writing, so the first book that I worked on with him just got published, so I'm very excited that to see my name in print for the first time last week. And I'll be working on my own chapter in his next book, and then we're also co-authoring a chapter this summer. So basically what I want to do is reach people with this idea. I want to offer a new avenue towards serving and healing and sustainable living. And I want our understanding of dogs to improve so that we can reduce mistreatment and abuse and extend our compassion and understanding to the rest of nature. If our actions are both emotional and well-informed, that's when they become powerful. So my goal is to bring something new and powerful to the movement of sustainability. Thank you so much for your time.
Those of you who love your dogs and want to see something
Thank you very much. I was just wondering, recently in New Hampshire there was a change or a push to change the domestic violence laws to extend to violence exhibited upon pets. And while there's a larger conversation I think is very worth having about it, that this dilutes the focus on violence against women, if you've seen any trend within domestic violence laws, or if you've pulled upon that at all for part of your research.
I haven't seen much of a trend with laws changing. But before laws change, we tend to see things change in the mental health and social work industry, and we are seeing changes there. We're seeing shelters for women and children now, including dogs, and we're seeing dog rescues include a component where they'll take in these dogs temporarily and hold them for people. And that's actually one thing I will be working on in Duluth with our battered women's shelter is if leaving the pets is ever a reason for people not to leave an abusive situation, we can take that pet in. And so we hope to grow our resources so that we can do that, and we can work with the women, and they can volunteer and come and visit the dog. So that's definitely an important piece I see in the human-animal relationship. Really inspiring. That just goes to show the strength of this.
I think just also with the pattern of
Right,
and definitely being able to follow that mirror and pattern basically.
Right. Yeah, I am really interested in the research out there already about what we're seeing with domestic violence, and we see it first in children toward animals, and we see it grow from there. And so the animals are definitely a part of this cycle of violence among people. So it's something that needs more work, and I'm glad that there is attention on it.
How you doing? A question I have is to take this back out to the community. I'm wondering, is something that you're planning to measure or want to measure is just the reactions that humans have to others, I guess, as they have this interaction with the animals, whether it's the rescue animals or not. So now you measure to see are they doing better at conflict resolution, or I'm just trying to see what is the measurable that you want to see with humans as it relates to their interaction with the animal.
Right. So the first thing that we'll be working on is individuals who they've already identified themselves as someone who wants to go through this program because they want the connection with animals for their own healing, sort of like animal-assisted therapy would suggest. And so first we'll measure their individual things such as confidence, self-esteem, skills, their confidence in getting a job and connecting to their community. And then from there we do hope to grow and have other programs, especially with children, where we will hopefully be able to measure how do they interact with each other. One of my mentors, Susan Larson-Kidd, she works primarily with students with autism. So we have some ideas there that we're working on to work with those kids in this program, and she's got some great expertise on how we could measure and what we could measure to see what this program does.
I don't have a question. I just want to commend you on your work. Emotionally, I connected completely. I work about education, and very often I see on a very much archetypal, intuitive level how children are with animals and they become one with them. And I have 61% right now from abused children, abused families, or children with autism and special needs. And I bring my own dog, and it is indescribable. I think that's where the sustainability starts, with really protecting the vulnerable. And one thing usually helped me now towards my focus in dissertation, so thank you.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you've looked much at animal therapy in like prison systems. There are a lot of very successful stories, and aside from dog training, there's also a program called the Butterfly Wranglers in Washington, which has been quite successful as well.
Yes, I've done some work, mostly with juveniles already in the system. That was actually where I started way back when I started in mental health. And I was able to do some animal-assisted therapy with them and hear about the prison programs. And there's one in Duluth that I'll be working with off and on, I'm sure. So they're sort of getting started right now.
Your work is wonderful. I wonder if you would share with everyone, how do you consider, from an IRB point of view, how do you consider your more than human living participants?
I'm very lucky to be working with Gabe Bradshaw because she actually created the field of transspecies psychology, which is the study of psychology among non-human animals in and of themselves. And her work is especially in elephants and parrots. And so when I went through my first IRB process before I went to India and started my research there, she already had an IRB system set up to consider the best interests of the animals that I would be working with and trying to put myself into their perspective and understand what their needs are. And so that's something that I definitely will be working on as I move forward, and something that I see as important. Our focus is on the dogs first, and the benefit that humans get from that is out of the work that we do. Basically, like altruism. It's not something that we do for the sake of the people. And once we step outside of ourselves, it's a much more.
Other questions? Well, I have one, and this has to do with stress reduction. I'm curious what studies have been done about physical contact with animals in terms of reducing stress. Home from a trip, there's my dog, and my good.
Sure. So the physiological benefits that happen in these relationships are the same for both dogs and humans. An increase in endorphins, a decrease in heart rate, and a decrease in blood pressure. And there's more about, sort of the neurotransmitters in our brains that we now are starting to realize dogs have them too. And so the same experiences that we feel when we cuddle with a dog, if they are a willing participant in that emotional connection with us, they are also experiencing the same thing. So there's a lot of research coming out now about the benefits for people with a physical connection or an emotional connection to animals, and it is very true and physiological and happens consistently among people and among animals.
Questions?
Yeah, I just was thinking about what you were saying and thinking about sometimes, it feels like we can care for dogs or animals more than we can care for our fellow humans. And, one thing I was just wondering, and so sometimes that troubles me, like when there's a disaster and it feels like. So I was wondering, actually, also maybe that relationship with the animals also cultivates.
Back to people.
Yeah, maybe it transfers back, and I just wondered if you'd come across that.
Yeah. Jerome Bernstein is a really interesting author that talks about that. He talks about borderland personality instead of borderline personality disorder. That's where he did his original work and started to realize that a lot of people with mental health issues actually have had a lot of trauma with people. And they experience very sensitively the trauma on our planet, what's going on with the Earth. And so that's a great person and book to turn to about that. A lot of people do turn away from their interactions with humans because they have a traumatic reason for doing so, and they feel more comfortable with animals because they still have that emotional trust that hasn't been broken.
Thank you, Shawna.
Thank
Make
you.
good use of your time.